Miami fans, there is reason to be down. Let's understand that. That's reality. But there's also reason this week to have hope and optimism. We will focus on that for the next hour here with Cam Underwood from State of the U on our 200th edition of Miami Hurricanes Live. Cam, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing so. In storm and sunshine, here we are, and definitely a storm for the Hurricanes right now. But otherwise, hey, yeah, we're hanging in there.
All right. As I just mentioned and realized when I posted the banner, this is our 200th show. So let's all celebrate. And we can all celebrate. It's my son's birthday as well, 25 today.
Okay, happy birthday.
Going on around here. Thank you so much. So we will be celebrating this weekend. All right. Blake James is no longer running the ship, the athletics program at the University of Miami. Mm-hmm. Cam certainly did a nice job here in recent weeks of outlining the substandard performance, not just from the football program, but across the board with few exceptions. And so the move was finally made.
And rightfully so. I said before we started recording, fireable offenses are not just for coaches. Leadership also was not where it needed to be. And I don't know, it was maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago now, but, on the show, pulled up his wiki page or his page on the Miami Athletics website and everything. And it's like, hey, he started it, development or in the ticket office and things like that. And I mean, that seems more his speed, to be perfectly honest. Development, i.e. getting donations, good at that. Selling tickets and going through ticket programs to increase, whatever, key performance indicators that you want to have in that for your school at that time. Maybe those things, but running an athletic department clearly is a bridge too far, or was a bridge too far for Blake James. And you can look back at just, when he hired Manny Diaz, how that went about happening. You know what I mean? I struggle to see many other athletic directors who would have done something like that, where Mark Rick resigns and 13 hours later or whatever it was, you have, a candidate, who's not interior promoted because he was gone already. He had signed, he was at Temple, you know what I mean? Not just interim for the, time being or but like, no, this is the guy, this is the direction we're taking the program in. That brought questions. And, the performance of the athletic teams, women's basketball had a really good season 2-3 seasons ago. They haven't replicated that for a variety of reasons, even though they've had many of the same players and coaches. What's going on there? Baseball's been abjectly terrible. Men's basketball, abjectly terrible. Football, you see what it is. And, all that's under the direction of the athletic director, under the purview and leadership supervision of the athletic director. And with all due respect to Blake James as a person, his performance as athletic director was also substandard and he needed to go. And, again, fireable offenses are not just for coaches. And I expected Manny Diaz to be gone already by Halloween. He did have those, couple 3 wins in there that pushed it a little bit back. But I don't see any way that you can bring him back with a roster that was ready-made for 10 wins. And even if 10 wins or more, it was, and the schedule to set up with that, even with Alabama there, yeah, okay. But, 10-1 in the other 11 games is not outside the realm of possibilities if he plays the level of talent that's on the roster. And the coach could not do that. And coach has not been able to make that happen. And the coach was hired and employed by the athletic director. That's just what it's going to be, bro. And, I had a great point I was going to make. I remember. The main thing, even more than right now, that told me that this job was too big for Blake James was 2015 when he came out and stated clearly, Al Golden will not be fired this year. We're going to go with him to the end of the year. Boom. And then Clemson happened the week after, 2 weeks after that statement. And then the board of trustees and everybody said, hey, look, worst loss in program history, 58-0. It was a literal name your score game for Clemson. They could have scored 80. literal 80, and it wouldn't have been a stretch. He got to go. And it took that level of futility from the program to engender the action that everybody already knew needed to happen, right? Same thing, I believe, with Manny Diaz. He's saying, well, but then again, this year, Blake James comes out, has radio silence, and then pulls that PR stunt bullshit the Friday before the NC State game, trying to distance himself from Manny Diaz. Hey, no, he's on the chopping block and everything because I'm his boss and blah, 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 blah. You know, and it was one of those medium fish eats small fish, and then large fish eats medium fish, and then shark eat. It was one of those things because, yeah, medium fish trying to eat the small fish, and he didn't look behind him and see that the big fish was behind him. And that's what ended up getting him got. And it was absolutely time, and it's absolutely necessary. And again, he, like I, am a Miami Hurricane. I believe he went to the University of Miami. I believe that after that, he elevated through the athletic department, starting in ticket sales and things like that. Went other places before he came back. Hey, fine. And as a person, I hold no ill will. I don't know the man to hate him or anything, but his performance as athletic director did not meet muster, and so he needed to go. And good on the board of trustees and university president to get him gone, and then we can bring somebody in to then find the new coach, because I still am of the clearly stated opinion that Manny Diaz has done in this town. And for everybody who's asking me these last couple of weeks, oh, we won this game, we won that game, have you changed? No. And now everybody wants to be back over here. And who didn't leave? Who hasn't changed their opinion? This guy. That's who.
Yeah, recency bias captivates most of us. I won't say all of us, but many of us. Now, when it comes to administrations that run universities that have to deal with athletics, and then by extension, the athletic director who is hired to be solely in charge of that athletic program, and here we deal mostly with football, and that's the revenue generating sport.
Mm-hmm.
I got to think that there are several benefits or objectives within that could be prioritized in a number of ways. Meaning, you can have an administration, and we all know how difficult it is to win. What are you checking out?
Sorry, I'm looking at Vishnu on Twitter. He's live tweeting as I'm going. So he's like, oh, he brought the smug face, and then like, I'm happy and everything. So I'm sorry. I was listening to you though. So I was the performance of the athletic department.
What I'm getting at is basically, it's hard to win at this level. So you have to have buy-in and engagement and focus from all the levels involved. Mm-hmm. They have to be dedicated to winning. We want to be an elite football program. Let's do it. Let's do all the things required here. I would think because not everyone at every university, of course, in these various levels are committed to and care about athletics or care about football, that they look at the football program in particular as a benefit to the rest of the university in various ways. Let's use it as a marketing tool. Let's use it as a revenue stream. Let's use it as a place to gain prestige. So as long as we're making money, 8-4, fine. Nobody's going to get upset. We're 8-4. We're going to bowl games. We get all that ACC network, ESPN, money. We get all the TV money, all the ticket revenue, Sure, if we were competing for a national championship, then we would make a little bit more money, but it's really not worth it. It serves its role. So I would think, I don't know Blake James' background beyond what you depicted, but I would think that you would want an athletic director, most likely, this is just speaking in general, that has an athletics background themselves, meaning they're a competitor. They were a competitor. They have that type of drive and spirit to want to excel on the field, and they have that pride instilled in them beyond this is just a corporation that we run to make money for the university and be just good enough to do that.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it could be tiddlywinks, it could be spelling bee, it could be, marching band, choir, thespians. It didn't have to be football. But yeah, that competitive spirit of we're going to be the best. We're not going to accept just numbers on a check sheet. You know, there's people in the world of business who, you know, like they run and it's just the bottom line of whatever their checks and balances or their accounting sheet is. That's the entire story. In the world of athletics, that is not the entire story. You play to win the games, and you have to have that mentality, you know. And yeah, it's just not been present at Miami. And you brought up 8-4, you know, and let's just say 8-4, you know, 2/3 winning percentage. And you can be, you know, fairly decent and continue to maybe have a big game here, big game there, get to a decent bowl game, maybe win that bowl game, right? Even if that, and that is not the standard. Oh, we're going to call
it. That's my bad. See, you hear that and I don't actually. Go ahead. Keep going, keep going.
No, it's okay. I was just waiting.
My bad.
But even if 8-4, which is not the standard for the Miami Hurricanes, that is not our target stated goal. We're not Wake Forest. And I know Wake Forest, you're saying, well, but Wake Forest. Yeah, look at Wake Forest by season. This is the outlier. This is not this is the exception to the rule of their performance. But they would say, okay, 8-4, and we could do that. And hey, you know, Kentucky, 8-4 every year, you know, and get up to maybe 9 or 10 wins. That's really changing the program. Miami's been 8-4 and or better in, okay, this year, no. Last year, 8-3. So that's one of the last 2 years. 6-7, 7-6. So that's once in 4 years. 10-3, twice in 5. 9-4, 3 times in 6. 8-5 with a loss in the bowl game. That's 2015. Okay, so that's 4. 6-7, no, 9-4. Okay, 7-5, 6-6, 7-6, 9-4 and 09. Okay, that's 6 times in the last, 13 years. 7-6, 5-7, 7-6, and then you're back to 05. So even by setting 8-4 for relevance and halfway decent performance to a bowl game, and we'll see what happens from there, as the floor of like decent performance for your program, you've had that in fewer than like, what? I don't even know what that math was, 6 out of 17 or whatever that I call. So you're talking a third of the time since 05? Come on, man. Like, and I know you're talking about, and I've seen people say, well, yeah, you know, other athletic directors and everything. The other athletic directors were bad as well. That's fine. I mean, I'm not out of line by saying that. Their performance was substandard as well. But we're not even in a general situation talking about, okay, this is what halfway decent mediocrity is over the course of time for a program. Miami can barely, actually not even, claim that as the level of success. Such is the nature of our discontent. This is the failing of this program over time. Go look it up. And you cannot tell me, to Mark's point, that you have leadership who is focused on performing excellence, and those are the results. Miss me with the APR stuff. Did I graduate with honors from the University of Miami? Absolutely. Is academics important? Absolutely. I was a teacher for 15 years. Right? You know this about me. But that's not on the field performance. There are other things as well. So those things could be good. Are you being good citizens? Have we had less or fewer arrests and, you know, legal incidences and things like that? Yes, and you want to run that kind of program. But you also want to run a program that wins games. And that's not been happening.
So from where I stand on all this, I wrestle with this in this way. So bear with me, Cam. Take off your orange and green to a certain extent and put yourself in my position, who attempts to. I made it very clear the other night. I am not unbiased. I made it very clear that I'm not. I attempt to be. I try to be. I do my very best to put myself in that position, but I'm at least self-aware enough to know that no human is completely unbiased. So my objective is to be neutral and unbiased. So I wrestle with Miami in college football, its place in college football, probably more so than any other program in the country. because you have a stated, and others within the Miami community, a stated standard of excellence, competing for championships, etc. Okay.
The only thing keeping us from that is us. Yes, but okay.
And that has, and that was accomplished, meaning competing for national championships for a 20-year span from the early 80s into the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Prior to that, it really doesn't matter. That was so long ago, but the history before that is not good. It's not Notre Dame or Army or whomever you want to take that was exceptional in years and decades gone by in black and white pictures. Okay, let's bring it forward. Since 2003, 4 in that range, the program has been, and I gave it a metric at one point in regards to looking at championships, conference championships, winning percentage, bowl game appearances, all those things. I gave it a metric in a video that I posted a year or two ago. And we're looking at a program that's, I'm trying to grab another program or 2 or 3 across the country during that time frame. Is Kansas State, is Georgia Tech, is somewhere in that realm. So that's where I wrestle with, okay, is Miami that early 80s to early 2000s? Obviously those championships are on the record. They're cemented. They are a huge part of college football history. Or is this program what it's been for the last 15 plus years? And is it ever going to get beyond that?
I mean, currently we are, your record is, or you are who your record says you are. So, yes. But the point from my earlier interjection is the only thing that has kept Miami back is Miami, right? Every week, I always say, I don't really much care about what's going on the other side. If we do what we need to do, you can handle business, period, right? First drive of the game, 5 penalties on defense. 5.
I didn't realize
it was
that.
very clear early that Florida State intentionally changed their cadence. That's fine. Usually you go on the clap. They went on the clap, they held for 2 beats, and then they went. Or they had the clap, they held for 2 counts, and then he said, vocal, hut. But offside after personal foul, after face mask, after late hit out of bound, after offside, you go 3 and out. Well, first of all, you go 3 and out of offense to start the game. And that's a little, they've been really bad on defense. And, we've been really good on offense, and you come out in 3 and out, but okay. All right. You back that up with those penalties first, and then they score a touchdown because you gifted them 35 yards. Turn the ball over, score. Turn the ball over, score. Turn the ball over, stop. All of those things are Miami not holding the standard of excellence that we've been talking about, not performing to the level. Right? So miss me with any of the referee calls or drop pass here. Watch the ball on defense. Don't go off sides. You had 8 penalties and 3 turnovers in the first quarter of the game this week. There it is, right? So on the field, that's who Miami is. The ceiling for potential performance for this program is sky high still. Look at whichever coach you want to name that we've had. Manny Diaz, I'm going to say Chris Ricks, Lord Jesus, Mark Richt, Randy Shannon, even Larry Scott finishing that year. Any coach can always recruit here because kids want to come to Miami. You're going to have more talent than you can shake a stick at within a 90-minute ride from campus to go and recruit. And even if you don't get the top end of everybody, you got enough. But we continue to find ways not to do what needs done, whether it's Mark Richt with refusing to give up the play calling sticks and to fire his son, or promote him out. As I said, look, call in a favor from somebody else somewhere else and get him a job elsewhere, and then, hey, it's fine. refusing to do that. Al Golden refusing to fire his friend, defensive coordinator Mark D'Onofrio, right? Manny Diaz, I'm not going to say refusing, but being unable to improve the performance of the team. And again, I get it. The players in the locker room love the man. He recruited a lot of them. He's a player's coach. He supports them and is there for them. They can probably go to him and talk about their personal life stuff. You know, I'm having problems with my old girl, or like this class, or like I'm really struggling with my playing time, coach. And I'm trying to understand because I want to fit here, and it's tough for me because everybody here was the biggest, baddest dude in high school. And now I'm the biggest, baddest dude in from my high school who's sitting on the bench fourth string behind some dudes. And it's tough for me. And they can probably go to Manny Diaz, and he's there to support them transparently. And that's amazing. And that's great. And we should have that. But even with that in his best intent, he is not good enough as a coach to get the performance that we need. And that right there is what is depressing the ceiling for the performance of this program. It is, with all due respect, even with having scholarship players in other places in the ACC Coastal, it is easier to win this division than pretty much any other division in the Power Five. It is. That Miami has been unable to do that does not disprove that point. It just more magnifies the dysfunction of the Hurricanes program. And that's where, to me, the program or the problem lies, because you bring in a Mac Brown at Carolina, turns things around. They get to the ACC championship game. You know what I mean? Like they also in this division have taken the steps to move forward that they need to. And they're an average team, and they beat us. And they also lost to Florida State, which is how on God's green earth. You know what I mean? But I think it honestly, all of these years that we're talking about with one 10-win season since 2004, all of these years of futility speak more to what Miami is doing wrong than the overall inability to win here. Because I think that there are more roadblocks between Georgia Tech or Kansas State and winning a lot than there are between Miami and but the thing in Miami's way has been Miami, and I think that that's the thing. So I still think that this program and this job are top tier in terms of what, like the status, if I were to rank them overall holistically. But if you're looking at the program or the performance on the field, that's clearly been deficient. And that's the thing more than anything else that's holding us back.
So I'll make this statement. You tell me if this is correct, because you made the statement within your overall statement that Miami has significant talent. So based on my judgment and evaluation of the roster, Miami should win the division in the Coastal. They should have won the division the majority of times over the last, since we've been doing these videos, these live shows. You know, if they had 5 of the last 7 Coastal Division championships, then we wouldn't be having this conversation in this way. There may be disappointment over, okay, we didn't take the next step and reach college football playoffs, but that would be the conversation. It would be on another level. But they've had the talent based on recruiting rankings, which are valid, to be winning the division consistently. Okay. If you brought in, you know, we've kicked around all sorts of dream scenarios. If you brought in one of the very elite coaches, Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, they would probably raise those top 15 classes to top 3 classes in the country.
Which Miami has had, by the way.
Yeah, 20 years ago, meaning. Almost.
We've had some top 10 classes in the last 10 years. I mean, the 2008 class or 9 class is 12 years removed, but that was number 1 overall. You have another couple. I mean, even last year or 2 years ago was number 8. I think a couple years before that was. I mean, so like you have some top 10 finishes, but you can have more of them and they can be lower single digit numbers. I get you.
So not even getting to the level of those guys, because there's only a couple of those guys. The guys that we've talked about that we know are capable, really good, solid top tier, top 20 type guys. Mark Stoops, Dave Clawson, whomever else we want to throw in there, Mario Cristobal. Even if they didn't improve to the point that you made about talent on the roster, even if they didn't improve recruiting, just being able to develop the talent and then strategize and game plan and make adjustments in game, we're talking about going 10-2 on a regular basis. Correct?
Yes, 100%. 100%. There's so many guys who've come to Miami who everybody in America wanted, who were just a guy, if that, at Miami. The development is the piece that's not been there. The recruiting, it doesn't need to get much better. We have of course, there's been attrition from the roster this year, clearly, and more this year than in previous years. But Miami still has a 61, 62% blue chip ratio, as in, 3 out of every 5 players on scholarship was a 4 or 5 star recruit. Bro, we got plenty of talent. Plenty. That's not ever been in question. Now, that talent has not lived up to that billing. Gervin Hall, he, again, was personally recruited by Nick Saban. He landed the recruiting chopper on the field at Palm Beach Lakes High School. You can go look it up on Twitter. Everybody still has those tweets up with the video and everything of him doing that. So again, if Nick Saban is taking the copter to your school, he really wants you. Gervin Hall was on our roster. That one of those guys. Gervin Hall had a great sophomore season and then nothing. Nothing. Okay? You know what I mean? If you want to go back a little bit, I know him. I've known him for a long time. I still communicate with his mother, who is on social media. But Tracy Howard, 5-star top 15 player. I think he was number 12 overall in his recruiting class in 2012. He didn't have a career at Miami that was 5-star top, borderline almost top 10 player in America. That did not happen. And there's more to go on from there of guys who did not progress when they got to this level. That's a major thing. So no, I don't need somebody to come in and elevate the recruiting. Now look, I will take it and it'll make my life a lot easier, because you got Kirby at Georgia. Mark Richt was getting top 10, top 5, a couple top 3s, number 1 overall. Look at what Georgia recruiting is now. So, hey, if you want to bring somebody in and that is the result, awesome. But that does not need to happen for Miami to be able to win. It doesn't. We need to develop. We need to have, great on-field or great coaching, and on-field performance will come from that. And it's things like the 4th and 14 against Florida State, right? Which Jordan Travis has now, using his NLI abilities, made 4th and 14 t-shirts with the Jordan Travis logo or thing. Hey, get your money. But on my side of the street, you have a quarterback who cannot throw the ball, right? You rush 3. You have a spy standing at 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. On 4th in the ball game, Manny Diaz himself stated, we remember 4th and 17 from 2019 against North Carolina, which cost us that ball game. We go over that scenario and those coverages all the time. We know that very well, what to do and how to do it. And then you see the video of them, and all they're running is a simple dagger concept. The number 2 receiver goes vertical. The number 1 has an in-breaking route behind it. It's a real simple pass concept. And you got guys in the secondary, DJ Ivey and Corey Couch, playing what I like to call YMCA zone. Because when I was playing and when I was coaching basketball, when you have young kids and they're learning defense, sometimes you don't want to play man-to-man. So you play zone. And you know what you do when you teach a kid a zone? You walk them onto the court and you say, this is your spot in the zone. And that kid will guard that spot. And that's it. Somebody cuts across. There's somebody 2 steps away. I'm not looking at any cutters. I'm not doing anything else. Coach told me to stay here. And so this is my spot in 2-3 YMCA zone. I'm guarding the floor in that spot that I was put in because I'm following the directions to the letter of the law. Not the intent, but exactly what my coach said. Because everybody knows, if you have a young kid, and again, I taught for a long time. Nobody in the classroom moved. But Mr. Underwood, I breathe and my heart beats and it shut up, right? But if you look at 4th and 14, you have DJ Ivy and you have Corey Couch playing YMCA zone. They're guarding whatever section of grass really well while receivers run right by them. And then that is the play that ends up really costing you the ball game. But you've come out and said, we remember when something like this happened to us before. We go over this scenario and these coverages very well, and we execute them in practice all the time. My eyes work. I saw that shit on 4th and 14. And you want to tell me that worked? You want to tell me that we go over this all of the time and that's the performance that we get? Unacceptable. I don't even know how I got there, but I need to get that out.
We will attack some super chats in the meantime. Chuck Mo Beer, appreciate you being here as always. Mark and Cam, keep up the great work. Smash the like button. The head of the snake is gone by Blake James. Manny Diaz, you're next, and your daddy can't save you. This time, clean house. Canes for life, 100.
So he's saying that because Manuel Diaz Sr. was the mayor of the city of Miami at the time, and his connections, what Chuck Mobier is saying is his connections politically have skirted over or had some covering for Manny Diaz Jr., who is Miami Hurricanes coach. But yeah, I mean, again, it was necessary for both Blake and Manny to go. And I think that Manny is next. I would have inverted that order just because I think that Manny should have been gone earlier. But hey, you got to go. You got to go.
Falcon Rex, super sticker guy. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate that. You know that. Thanks for being here as always. And then Falcon Rex follows up the big super sticker in red with the green super chat. I hear Gino Torretta is the next athletic director. I'm not sure. Is he the most qualified man? Can you tell me?
I don't know what his qualifications are past football. I would have to look that up, but I know that he is actually no, because that would have been conjecture. I'm not sure. And I don't necessarily agree that he is the next, but he's on the list. There's him, there's Alonzo Highsmith, who's been a high-level executive in the NFL. The gentleman from FAU, USF, a couple other places were listed. Barry Jackson reported the list of potential candidates or top candidates for athletic director. I would like to see maybe a couple others. Shout out to JP. I got to say his guy, Mac Rhodes from Baylor, who has really increased things over there, both in basketball and on football. So we'll see. But I would have to go look in terms of Torretta specifically for what his qualifications are. But if he's on the list, I would hope that he at least does have the experience where it would not be pulling someone like me to be athletic director. Like, I like to think that I know a lot of things, but in terms of professional experience, to be able to step up into the athletic director role, I'm not sure that I have the experience and knowledge to do that. And I hope that based upon whatever he's done past football, Gino Torretta, if he's in the conversation, does.
All right. Number of comments coming in. Let's see. Conversations there. All right. Good, bad, ugly. That's typically your review of the game each and every week. So when it comes to Florida State, what kind of positives did you draw?
Not many, to be perfectly honest, because I don't think there were many. And of course, the website wants to go slow as I click on it. I think I said the competitive nature of the team, because I will give credit where it is due. The team did not quit. The team, Miami got down 17-0 and then ended up coming back to lead that game before giving it away. So there was that. Tyler Van Dyke specifically bouncing back from a tough start. 316 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did also have all 3 of Miami's turnovers, 2 interceptions and a fumble. But he eventually got it going. So that was positive. you had touchdowns by 4 different receivers: Keyshawn Smith, Mike Harley, Will Mallory, and Jalen Knighton. Jalen Knighton, that touchdown on that arrow route was incredible. I mean, Marcus Brownlee is on Florida State and they won the game, but he got to wear that one because he tried to go for the boom on Jalen Knighton. And I mean, he's a cornerback. He's 5'11", 190 pounds against a running back of similar size. But he was like, oh, I'm going to drop the hit stick. And Jalen Knighton dropped that shoulder to his chest, spun off him, and kept going and scored. That was really an incredible play, even in a bad game. But past that, some defensive statistics. And that was pretty much it. I mean, it wasn't really a lot. In every big moment, Miami did not rise to the occasion. And you play cowardly, fourth and pretty much the ball game for 1.5 when Miami was on offense on their penultimate drive, not on the last drive that ended up, but the one before Florida State scored. The clear choice is to go for it. The analytics follow it up. I think I tweeted quickly in the moment, and I went back and was like, hold on, wait. But I'm on the 46-yard line. If you want to talk about, hey, we haven't had, or Florida State has not scored on us in the second half or something, or hasn't driven the field or whatever it was, right? If that's the line of logic that you want to use for punting and having them pinned back, that's the same logic you got to use right there at the 46, 47-yard line. Call a timeout, call your best play, get that 1.5 yards and go. Because 1.5 as opposed to 1 shouldn't have been a difference because you're not going to really probably necessarily run the ball on that without being able to run the ball that game. So again, even the talk afterwards about it was more than a yard. It wasn't like y'all were going to run the ball, call a run play for that anyway. So what's stopping you from what should have been, fourth in the ball game? You pick up that 1.5 yards and we win. You did it at Pittsburgh. You know what I mean? You've done it in other games because that Pittsburgh game was still the same thing. You're on the road. It's a little bit across the I think that was at midfield, maybe going so it's maybe 10 yards up the field from where we were. But you've already done that a couple games ago against a ranked team. So miss me with the we couldn't. You can, you should have, and you already did this season. So miss me with that. But it was more bad and ugly. I mean, you had 19 penalties total, including the declines and offsetting. And this is a week after your cleanest game of the year against Georgia Tech with 3 penalties. Again, you eclipsed that in the first drive. You know what I mean? And every week you still spot the other team points and you want to climb back. The game doesn't start when the game starts, and it's just, you come out and you play scared on offense all of a sudden. You should have had all the swagger coming off that sideline. We got the ball first. Our quarterback has been NBA Jam. He's on fire hot. You know what I mean? And come out and then you have conservative play calls. You just have this conservative mindset. You can tell even early they're hoping to have a chance to win this game. Not like last year when it's we're going to stomp on their face. They can't stop it. And they can't stop it because we've seen other worse teams not be stopped by them. But then again, like I've been saying, you play down to and below the level of the opponent. And this is how we get here. So the good, the bad, the ugly was a lot of that. And honestly, I didn't even go as deep as I usually do. And I give all the statistics and all the things in every single area. And all you need to know is we lost to that Florida State team for this year. Fireable. And Blake James is already gone. And I need Manny Diaz to be gone too. To the point, in punto.com, the end. There was a question in there from the North Carolina guy, Luke, I believe it was, about Miami only signing 8 commitments at signing day. And I tweeted this today. When was the last time that anybody has heard Miami be favorably mentioned by a recruit? There was the number 1 JUCO corner who had Miami in his top 5, Jeffrey Mba, another, I think he's number 1 overall JUCO guy. He has Miami in his top 4. There's another couple of guys where that's happened. But whenever you've seen from anybody that has been like, oh, Miami this, Miami that, Miami this, Miami that. It has not happened. I've not written a class breakdown in the longest because there ain't nothing out there, other than Trey Colin Fagan's decommitting and going to Bama because he's like, yo, I'm going to go join Death Row. Like, y'all playing games. I need to get to the league. But other than that, when have we had any kind of, momentum, any kind of conversation, any kind of juice, buzz, anything? It really has not happened other than a couple 2023s being to lots of games, like Hakeem Williams from Fort Lauderdale Stranahan High School, the 6'3" wide receiver in the next recruiting class. But like guys right now who could actually sign or come to Miami at whether it's, JUCO or prep level, it's been radio silent. And it's, that's tough. But, hey, we'll see.
We'll read the super chat, then I'll hit you with a question of my own related to what you just stated. So we got Street Value here. Appreciate that so much. True or false, Miami got fat and sassy after beating 2 ranked teams and underestimated Florida State.
I don't think that we underestimated Florida State, but good God, I don't think that we underestimated them because that's a game where, like, again, everybody on both sidelines knows everybody. And I mean, you have guys who played together in high school and against each other. And I went to Central and I went to Northwestern and we didn't play, you're from Duval, but we didn't play the Duval teams in state quarterfinals or semis or something. So like everybody knows everybody. So it's not that we underestimated them or took them and did not think that they had any competitive chance. We just played one of the worst games of the year at a really terrible time. And again, you let a team hang around enough.
Yeah, you just have to look at the Pitt and North Carolina State results. North Carolina State, a team that just beat Florida State by 2 touchdowns, a team that Miami beat.
And their own content creators, I believe it was 247 for Florida State. You correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the chat. But they wrote that it was miraculous that Florida State scored 14 against NC State. A miracle. And here we are with Miami giving up 30 points again, which has happened, I believe, in every single game except for the Central Connecticut State game, which is no great.
So in the scenario in which Manny Diaz is let go sometime between right this second and the Sunday following the last game of the season, which would be, I believe, November 28th. So that Black Sunday in which we're going to see 7, 8, 10 head coaches across the nation get axed. So National Signing Day is December 15th. So that is roughly 3 weeks.
Shucks, wow, that's fast.
Less than a month away. So about 3 weeks gap between the final game and National Signing Day. I would think that there would be some kind of strategy as to, we want to make a quick hire because especially if we make an impressive hire, you may be, with your recruiting knowledge, able to come up with some instances, but I know that it's happened before where there's a big hire, a big splash, and a guy is so good he can come in and save a recruiting class. No, it's not going to be everything it could have been, but he's able to sway and really pull some guys off the fence in their direction and make a difference in just a couple weeks. But balance that out with obviously making the correct hire and taking the time to do the search and the interviews to make the correct decision.
Yeah, you gotta make the right hire, and clearly Miami's not done that a lot recently. I mean, you bring in one coach with a proven track record, and in the second year he wins 10 games. It's not hard, but this is not a training job. This is not an on-the-job training. You're OJT from way back when I first started teaching. Where you have 2 high school classes and then you leave at lunch and then you go and have your job, and that's also for credit. And this is not an OJT job. We need somebody who knows what they're doing. We need somebody who has performed. And now you might take a little bit of a bet on them improving their performance, given the state of Miami and like the program and the potential with, not having really great other competition on the ACC Coastal and things like that. So you might have somebody, I mean, like if you're talking about a Mark Stoops, that would be a bet that he can elevate what he's shown if you were to bring him in. And that's okay. if we go that way, but you just need to make the right choice. And you can probably save, and saving a recruiting class, current cycle is relative. Okay. So you're not going to really go from wherever we are up to the top 10. I mean, I know that we're in the 50s or 60s and we only got 8 guys committed, but relative to Miami, if you get a guy coming in and you get 4 or 5 high school kids, hopefully, 4-star guys, anything above that, if we get any 5 stars or anything, that's going to be bonus. But you get a decent number. Hopefully, we leverage the transfer portal through this year and then rebuild the roster that way and then really push. We're going to really see the recruiting bump happen as the first full cycle for the new coach. So the thing for the new coach who's incoming this cycle is don't let it completely fall apart. At least hold serve for a little bit, keep it where it is, improve it a little bit so the bottom doesn't fall out and we're sitting at 0 commitments. And then the real move is in the first full cycle. I've talked about this. Bud Elliott has written articles about it when he was with SB Nation and at 247 Sports. The first full cycles, we're going to see the bump. So, yeah, you just need somebody to tread water and then be able to elevate. But, again, that cannot be the sole focus. We need to get the right guy for the job and then have that happen on the recruiting trail. Because unlike Dan Mullen, I know that all the time is recruiting time.
Yes, it is. If you want to be relevant and want to win, you got to be recruiting and grinding all the time. RPK, appreciate you being here. Assuming there's a coaching change, any current staffers you would want to keep? I still say keep T-Rob.
Yeah, that's Travaris Robinson, the defensive backs coach. There's arguments to be made for several people. Rob Likens is the wide receivers coach. Stephen Field, my guy, is tight end coach. Garen Justice and Rhett Lashley are kind of pals. So that's the thing where if you don't have one, you don't have the other. And I don't know that Lashley would stay around. And there's things to like with Lashley, but there's areas for growth as well. I would love to see the actual offense that was run at SMU. I need, maybe some more air raid stuff in there. Because he's kind of in between doing the air raid thing and then doing the run heavy Auburn thing. And it's kind of in between in a not great way. Defensive line, Jess Simpson's very good. I don't know if he would stay, but I mean, that's somebody who I wouldn't mind keeping. Linebackers got to go, both of them, Packy and Aristide. Aristide only because he's young. I don't know him. And he's not, he's from Miami, but he's not from the Miami program. So DeMarcus Van Dyke is his first year as cornerback coach. I would like to keep him. If we don't, I understand. Then T-Rob. Yeah. So, you can make an argument for some of them to stay. I think that realistically, though, you got to look at the top of the assistant pool. So maybe a T-Rob and Likens. And then maybe from there, who would realistically be held over by a new coach just because they have coached at this and higher levels and performed. Past that, it's kind of a toss-up.
Is there any reason to believe the statement made by Raphael here is accurate or based in reality? We got to consider that the Florida job may be open. The LSU job is open. The USC job is open. And then some other more second-tier jobs like Washington, Texas Tech, TCU, and so forth. And LSU, they're going to break the bank if it's required.
I don't want to speak for Raphael, but I think / wink, wink, hope he meant the most money ever for coaching that Miami has ever spent. Not that has ever been spent in the world of college football. That's transparently not going to happen. But I believe that, you do have, it's been reported already that, you get rid of Blake James, you get more than $1 million. It was at 7 figures worth of donations from donors. Do your math, 1 comma, 2 commas. So you have that who are putting, so already donations being put towards the coaching staff and everything. So raising the allocations for the assistants and then also being able to provide a competitive salary to whoever the head coach is going to be. Yeah, I think that Miami's going to finally stop claiming poor, because Miami's not poor. Just not. Like, it's just verifiably inaccurate. There's an article about the profits from the U Health system, the University of Miami health system. Like, like there's money around. You know what I mean? Like, no, you might not have a T. Boone Pickens singular donor like OK State, who's like, cool, I'm going to stroke you guys a $17 million check a year, and you guys do with that as you see fit. But to say that like Miami is in the poorhouse by electing to be frugal, like, yeah, you can elect to be frugal and have, a whole bunch of money. You remember the Chappelle show when he's playing Tron, and oh baby, and he has the money all on him and everything. That's what Miami's been. Like, there's money around. We've just been very, thrifty about it. Spendthrift, as it were. Frugal, but money's there. So if you want to talk about a coach making 4 or 5, a year, that's within the realm of possibilities. And I know Miami wants to make it seem otherwise, because then, well, we just get to keep money and have profits for the university, and then like we can just do some other things and we don't have to put that money there. But like, you should have been saving and getting the interest from that money for a good long time, because we have gone cheap on coaches multiple times. And I'm not saying give the Mel Tucker, Nick Saban or Jimbo Fisher 10 years 95 to anybody. But $4 or $5 million a year plus a substantial increase in the pool for assistants is not outside the realm of possibilities. And if Miami's going to be serious about competing, that is what needs to happen. And the money is there for that to happen.
I'm sure they would have been in the top 10 range for Mark Richt, right? In terms of money? You would think.
Yeah, no, I mean, he made a good little chunk of change there. It's always hard because Miami's a private school, so you're not going to be able to get those contract details with the Freedom of Information Act request, because it's a private school, so they can operate a little bit differently and not put those things out there. But yeah, I mean, he made a decent little chunk of change, but again, he left and was very nice about resigning, so we didn't have to pay him the remainder of that contract. But yeah, it was but he's the one coach. And again, he's the one proven coach that we hired, and we spent the most money for him. And he's the one coach where we have not been very thrifty about it. So, time to go in the opposite direction. Not even the opposite direction, to go in the Mark Richt direction. And hey, we need, like, scary money don't make none. And that's for your 4th down decision. And scary money don't make none, as in if you don't pay somebody to coach this team appropriately, you're going to get the results that we've seen. And I went down the list of records by year for the, these many years. So pay a little bit and get somebody in here. And let's go win some football games.
Brandon D, appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for the super chat. Brandon, unfortunately, still recovering from the trauma of being at the Florida State game.
Yikes.
Cam, do you think a coach like Tom Herman is a solid option if we cannot get a home run hire?
So you're calling Mike or Tom Herman like a double to the gap, maybe a triple if you or you can leg it out and you hit that turnaround second base and in stride? Yeah, I would. He's definitely not doesn't have the shiny luster on him as before he went to Texas, where he was, everybody's favorite candidate and things like that. I mean, mine included, and they went to Texas and it was not good. But hopefully you can learn from there. But then again, I don't want to give trauma to Brand or further trauma to Brandon or to anybody listening. But Manny Diaz had a very famous and very unsuccessful turn at Texas as well. And you can bet your bottom dollar that if we hired Tom Herman, the comparison to him and how it failed at Texas, and Manny Diaz and how Manny Diaz's defense failed at Texas, and then coming here to coach in Miami will be brought up more times than a little bit.
I thought Tom Herman was a good hire at Texas. He carries himself and speaks in such a way that at least my observation of that is that it sounds like he's competent, capable, can run a top flight football program. And he wasn't a complete failure there. He achieved better than Charlie Strong there. That's not a high bar, And Charlie Strong was really good prior to that at Louisville. So I have respect for Charlie Strong and obviously a tremendous defensive coordinator. But Tom Herman, he had his Sugar Bowl win in one season, going to a Big 12 championship game. He had his, he was going 8-4, 7-5 in that range there at Texas, which is not good enough there. But now they're, who knows what Steve Sarkisian's. I'm not going to obviously make the final verdict.
Losing to Kansas at home, that's what he's doing.
Tom Herman wasn't losing to Kansas. So my last question is, it's almost like there are certain professional sports towns in America where people point to it and they think that there's some kind of connection between, okay, the Patriots and the Red Sox are awesome, and then the Celtics, they captured a championship or two, and the Bruins, and that's just a winning sports town, and Cleveland's a bad sports, that they're like, there's some kind of connection. And I never got that. I never understood it because there's no connection between the organizations. Similarly, we're in a situation right now where Florida has probably the best talent in America. Texas is right there, but they're certainly one of two that outdistance everyone else. The three schools, major schools in the state of Florida, are a combined 14-16 right now, and have generally been down, other than Mullins' couple years that have been decent up until now. Been down for a little while now. Is there any connection or reason for that?
Bad leadership, bad choices at the top for every program. Miami, Florida State, Florida. It's just been, it's been bad. And, you find ways to lose games that you should not. And that just carries over, and you play, it's just, it's been real bad. It's been real bad. And in their own specific ways, you know what I mean? Like Florida, has had a bunch of injuries, and you go 4-8 twice in a decade. And then, you have the Marco Wilson shoe throw and everything. Like, I mean, they had their own thing. We talked ad nauseum last week about Florida State and, playing these away games and recruiting and trying to say that, every player that they get is going to be evolutionary, and they're definitely not. And again, go look at the tweets up, because I did after I got off the show. They said at the time that Cam Akers in high school was better than current junior year going to the NFL, Dalvin Cook. Asinine, ridiculous. But if you believe that to your core, as that's going to be the kind of performance that you're going to receive, you're going to fall short. And then Miami, obviously, just not developing any kind of talent, really, with very few exceptions. David Njoku, being one of the exceptions, who was a 3-star athlete kind of guy. He ends up being a first-round draft. But Gregory Rousseau also, but he had the measurables always to be that. But outside of those couple of guys, you really aren't developing any kind of talent, and you just piss away any kind of game that, again, games don't have to be close. They don't. You find a way to make them close all the time. And, if you're in close games all the time, you're going to find a way to lose, because you're not going to be, perfect in tight game scenarios and situations. Also, to clean up a stat from earlier, we've given up Miami 30 points in every game of the year, other than Central Connecticut State and Appalachian State was the only other FBS game in which Miami is not allowed 30 points for the opposing team. Regardless of if we gifted that to them or whatever, just look at that. So again, things like that, where you have a defensive head coach and who was a defensive coordinator when Miami's defense was very good in 16 and 17, and then say, okay, cool. Now he's going to be the head coach, and the defense, like I just mentioned, is the problem, because everybody other than App State, who's an FBS school, has scored 30 points. So each school has had their own special level of deficiency that's led us to where we are, which is really not great.
Dan Mullen's done enough to show that he's a capable coach and head coach of a Power 5 team. He did it at Mississippi State. They weren't great, but he pretty much maxed out what anybody else has done at Mississippi State, and he's won at Florida before this issue this year, stringing together inexplicable type performances and then coming off the debacle of the end of last season. They went to an SEC championship game. So he's just kind of a strange, odd character that just does dumb things and says dumb things off the field. When he's on the field,
Logan,
not,
clip that.
and
Mark saying strange, dumb character, please.
well, check out my Dan Mullen video from this week. It's done rather well, and I went through his litany of misgivings over the past year. He's just sabotaged himself over the last year, just with buffoonery. Just flat out buffoonery. But on the field, get him in a game setting with players and let him game plan and call plays. He knows what he's doing.
Fair.
No. All right. We've got an Amazon link. Shop Amazon. I'm sure you already do, but use our link in the description section of any of the videos and you help us build the channel. Cam, what you got going?
Just trying to, like Brandon D, I believe it was, move forward after the loss to Florida State. And again, we're not fair weather fans. We're here all of the time, every single week, in storm and sunshine, in success or failure. So, we have all kinds of content going up on the website. I just saw that Roman did a Twitter Q&A. I'll have the how to watch and game lines for this week, Miami being up to an 8-point favorite against Virginia Tech, who fired their coach yesterday, by the way, announced that he's gone and not coming back after the season. So that'll be wonderful to see. And, it's senior night, so we're going to try to get some senior profiles out there for you and a couple of other things. So, yeah, always and forever, the show keeps going over State of the U. So come on over, read the commentary analysis, hop in the comments. We have a strong community there. Come fan with us. Come, vent your frustrations or celebrate our successes. But, if you thought that I was going to tuck tail and I was not going to be here, you clearly don't know me. If you think that I'm going to change my viewpoint of the Hurricanes in general, that I'm going to stop bleeding orange and green and things like that, clearly you don't know me. Clearly you don't know us. So get to know me and get to know us. Click the link, stateoftheu.com, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The State of the U. My personal Twitter account is at Underwood Sports. I may or may not be live tweeting some stuff tonight because I have some stuff, some homework for the secret day job I got to do real quick. But yeah, we're always there and love to interact with people. So please come on over and fan with us. Please, enjoy the content and let us know how we're doing. And hopefully root on the Miami Hurricanes to maybe bowl eligibility. Who knows? Because we're still not bowl eligible yet with the win on senior night over Virginia Tech. Or not. Let's take
and somebody here posted a video earlier this season basically saying Justin Fuente should be fired. Look at the declining recruiting and look at their performance on the field.
Yep. And again, it ended up costing him his job and the performance on the field, if nothing else. And I mean, a recruiting class is currently in the 60s for Manny Diaz. Hopefully for us as Miami Hurricanes, we'll do the same. But in any event, it's been my pleasure. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this, and I turn it back over to Mark.
Next week, folks, 7 p.m. Wednesday night.